Hey, what's up guys, it's T-Bone here. Welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. In today's episode, I'm going to cover the mechanics of the cards of the Hellboy event deck, specifically the order in which you should activate your card's battle skills. I'll be showing mainly decks that uses 2 copies of Summoner Alice, and also some that uses Hellboy BPRD Agent. I'll also be doing a quick review of the decks to talk about its strengths and weaknesses by using different combinations with other older cards in the game. So first, let's explain a little bit about the terminology. So the support card, the ultimate form, and the ultra rare card, which is currently selected in the box here, are all what we call on-hit cards. That means gems do not spawn when you activate a battle skill. Instead, gems will spawn the next turn after you match the same color gems. So you want to activate these cards first. Then the Master Collection card is what we call an on-activate card. So gems will spawn immediately once you activate a battle skill. You want to activate these cards next. And it also happens to be a nuke card, so when you activate a battle skill, it will trigger a direct attack against the boss. It does ignore boss buffs such as blind, but in Slayers, it also ends your damage queue. So that means damage from other players will start being included against the boss before the end of your turn. Next, let's take a look at the full deck in action, and we're going to go up against a level 349 LGOH, and we're using 3 keys for attack here. So this is the type of deck that I consider to be a 3-turn attack deck. The way it works is on turn 1, you focus on actually charging on the battle skill. Then turn 2, you activate the on-hit cards, that is the support card, the ultimate form, and also the ultra rare cards. You also want to make sure that you do minimum gem matches if possible so that you can increase the total number of gems on the board so that when they spawn the next turn, you can have a full board of gems. Then turn 3, activate your on-activate cards and do a power gem swap. Now with this particular setup, with the killer skill, you can see that the total damage is about 1.3 trillion or so. Now if you sort of take this objectively and compare against other ultimate form cards, this is weaker by comparison, especially considering the cards that you have here. The ultra rare card is also a little bit weaker compared to others that we've seen. So what I'm going to do is we're going to break it down and we're going to try out different combinations with other cards next. Now for the next few fights, I'm going to showcase the cards individually, the Master Collection card, the ultra rare card, and also Hellboy BPRD Agent separately to sort of show you how they all work individually in this deck. I'm also going up against Dallas so we don't have the killer bonus, and I'm using 2 copies of Orsang so that we can have some power gen spawners to help baseline the damage output. So with this particular setup, you would use Summoner Alice first, as we showcased previously, and then you activate the rest of the on-activate cards here. And so after you do this, and then you do a Power Gen swap, with this particular case, we were able to swap up 2 Power Gen 4s, so we can maximize the combination there. And with this, the damage output is about 85 billion, which is more than enough to take down most of the bosses here. And next, we're going to replace the Master Collection card with the ultra rare card Hellboy. And so in this case, the activation order is a little bit different. After turn 1, you'll want to activate both the support card as well as Hellboy all at the same time. And then you would only activate Orsang last, which is also your on-activate cards. And so with this particular setup, you're going to get 3 additional Power Gem 2s, but you will not have the Power Gem 4s. And so using Orsang here, you do get a couple of additional Power Gem 1s to help with the damage output. Now, interestingly, if you take a look at the output here, even though it has lower multiplier, the damage is actually higher than the previous team with the Master Collection card. I'm not sure what happened there, but it's almost the same. So let's just say the Ultra Rare card and the Master Collection card is about the same. Now let's replace the card again with Hellboy BPRD Agent, which is another support card. So now you have 3 support cards and 2 Orsangs, and let's see how much this can actually deal in terms of damage. So with this particular setup, you're back to activating just Summoner Alice because those are the on-hit cards. And so now with this, what you want to do is you can also try to create some power gems to help with your overall damage output. So you can see I actually created 2 power gem 2s there because I know that I'm lacking in that department. And so the number of gems there isn't going to be filling the board, but I can use Hellboy to then sort of fill out the rest of the spots there. And so you can see here, I do have a full board of gems and I could swap a power gem 4 and a 3. The total multiplier comes out to 32 times, and I'm still able to deal really good damage there for a total combined value of close to 50 billion there. Now, of course, the damage here is without the killer bonus, but that also gives us a good idea of really the ingredients for getting the damage output here. So if you think about it, without the killer bonus, all the ultimate form and also the ultra rare card and the Master Collection card is doing is generating some power gems so that you can deal damage there. So if you have Generation 3 heroes in the mix, you should be able to deal some good damage. And so the next segment, we're going to talk about some of the other cards that you can put in to also be competitive in this event. Now, in my first example, I'm going to use 2 support cards, Summoner Alice, and also 1 Nutcracker because I don't have Ben Daimyo or Daimyo card to show you what it's like when you can create 4 Power Gem 1s, which the Nutcracker does. I also have Aladdin in here as well as an Orsang just to get a couple of additional Power Gems. All of this is about using cards that can create Power Gems to maximize your damage and to see how much the Generation 3 cards will be able to deal. And so with this, what you want to do is you want to activate all of your Power Gem spawners or your on activate cards last. Now notice what I've done here. I also swapped the 2 Power Gem 3s here instead of the 4 and the 1 because when you swap Power Gems, you want to maximize the total sum of your Power Gem numbers. In this case, the 3 and 3 gives me 6, and that will actually give me the maximum amount of damage there. And so with this particular setup, with this damage, the 2 Summoner cards combined gives me a total value of about 40 billion, which is not bad given that we only have 2 support cards in here. So far, we've established that it's really just about the Power Gem creation abilities, and so not having the Master Collection card or the Ultra Rare card isn't actually so bad because they don't create that many anyway. And so having alternatives will do just as well. And so in this case, I have 2 Summoner Alice and 1 Hellboy BPRD Agent, so basically 3 support cards. And I brought in another Orsang and 1 Golden Warrior, which will create Power Gems based on the number of gems on the board. Plague Seraph does exactly the same thing. And here what we want to do is we want to activate the Orsang and then Hellboy. So you can see that I fill up the board with gems here, and Golden Warrior can create a total of 8 Power Gems. Now the thing is, I didn't create additional Power Gems on turn 2 like I did in the previous fight, and so my total multiplier is going to be much lower here, and so the damage output is lower. But if you follow sort of that recipe of just creating additional Power Gems there, you could deal a lot of damage here. And in this case, we were able to deal a total of close to 50 billion with this setup. Now in summary, here are my thoughts for the deck. This deck actually benefits more from the mechanic of the support card Summoner Alice because of her ability to quickly fill the board with light gems. In light Slayer teams, there aren't many cards that can quickly create power gems like Hel, Abarca, or Thoth. Dina and Yolona can create many power gems, but they take longer because of the intensity requirements. And if you take away the killer skill of this team, given the 13 times bonus and the empowerment affinity bonus against the boss, overall damage output is weaker than other ultimate forms I've seen. The other challenge here is that this deck quickly runs into an issue with health because of the lack of passive heals. Alice Monaghan is a card that heals, but it's also a card that you can only get from direct cash purchase. So if you don't have her, you would need to rely on other cards such as Aladdin, but then that would reduce your overall damage output and the gem creation abilities. It's a lot slower, with the fight turn cooldown across the board. The lack of heal becomes a problem because fights take longer, and against ultimate bosses, for example, I'm only able to deal damage twice before the boss would take me out. However, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Power and damage isn't everything for events, and in this event, for example, having the ultimate form doesn't guarantee you automatically taking down the big boss right away, like the last Dark Slayer event. So the force slow down the deck actually makes it a little bit challenging to compete with others with a similar setup, so I think the aspect is a plus. So I would say overall, if you're currently waiting to see if you should craft the ultimate form for this event, you might benefit from saving your runes for the next light event. The runes could be useful for the commander event and help you with the overkill objectives. Hope this helps. Thanks a lot for watching, thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.